Like I've answered before, I'm not sure if I would rate it as easy as hard. I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot. I've gamed with a lot of people. Me and another friend of mine joke around that we are the Kevin Bacons of gaming because between the two of us, we figure out that we find that we've met just about every gamer in the area or in around a few degrees away. I don't know where to find them. I don't know. I just do. I come across people. It's like interest. People get attracted to people of like interest. I've had my campaign's been going on now since '92, so we're looking at 22 years. And I've sat down and I've probably had just writing down. Me and a friend of mine did it one time. Sat down and wrote a list of people that played for what we consider a contributing amount of time, which means they played at least 3 to 6 months. Their characters had development within the campaign. They had memorable characters, and I probably have a list of well over 200 people. That's a lot. I'm very, very fortunate to have, and I've talked to people who say, I don't ever have players. I think one of the biggest things is not sweating when you don't. When your game gets down to 2 or 3 people, so what? Play. I ran a game my first game that I answered that earlier question that we played after school. Eventually, that boiled down to being me and a friend of mine. And I ran the game, and he played characters, and then I had other friends that would occasionally play here and there, but it was mainly me and him for an entire summer. That's all. We after and after school, and then during the summer and starting school next year, that's what we did. We played. That was one of the things we did. We played in the campaign world. I just didn't fret finding and losing players. I mean, they're there. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of resources now that I would love to have had before. I mean, you got sites like Meetup, Facebook. There's lots of groups on Facebook. Google Plus has tons of communities you can join. There's penandpapergames.com. They're based out of Texas, but they've got people that are on their forums from all over the world, and all over the U.S. So, there's all kinds of places to find players. It's just a matter of if you want to find them, you will.
I can agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. Obviously, he's running a much more grandiose operation than I am. At this point, his 100 players over the years has probably only equated to my 20 or 30. Our players are pretty true to their beginnings over time. So I've got most of the people who started are still with me over the years. But on his point on the aspect of online gaming and the online community, I can agree with that almost to the point. And it's kind of interesting to see, how gaming and how we connect as gamers has come so far. But even still, it seems as though gamers as a whole are kind of segregated in their own little groups. Very rarely do you see multiple groups kind of conjoined together as a whole. It seems like they're each kind of their own subculture in amongst a giant culture themselves. And also on the point that, gamers know gamers, they just don't know each other are gamers. I can see that for sure. Definitely. One of my younger players now is 18. He's getting ready to graduate high school, and everyone he tells that he's a gamer is like, what? You play games? I mean, I've played, but I didn't think you would do that. So I definitely see that as holding true. And I guess, I agree. The players are there. Keeping them around is sometimes an issue, but life gets in the way. So I guess that's true. You don't really have to hunt for them. They kind of come to you. Oh, the player issue. Running your own campaign is always interesting in a sense that, finding what we consider to be good, loyal players is a difficult task. Even if, you have 2 of them, you're still scraping for another 2 for a solid 4-person party. And if you've got that one guy who wants to play once a month when everyone else wants to play 3 times a month, it causes the conflict, offering side quests, how much do you give in that side quest, how many times a month you're going to have to do one, blah, blah, blah. So for me, a lot of my players come from, just my circle that I have kind of grown to know and be accustomed to. And I kind of rely on them in a sense, as players, that if we're struggling as a group, it's kind of their responsibility to dabble a little bit and see who they can bring in to me. I've only played a couple actual public role-playing games in all my years. So that aspect of gaming, that aspect of running a game where your players are kind of unknown to you or unbeknownst to what you're going to offer them, is kind of foreign to me. So I'm really unfamiliar with that kind of, I don't know, I guess push and tug.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only time that we started a couple of clubs, but we didn't start the clubs to look for players. The sites like Meetup, I was told that when we were setting up the Warhammer, the club, not going to us role playing games, but we were looking for other players. We still had a group of, like 16 or 17 players, but we were looking for more people to interact with, and play the games with. And another friend of mine had recommended Meetup. That's how I found it. And I went on there and looked around and see, because I've always known that, that's one thing, I've met a lot of people over the years gaming area, and I've found that there are a lot of gamers. There are also a lot of gamers that don't know that each other are gamers. So, it's kind of funny that it happens, but yeah, friends, family, I've gamed with other members of my family, I've gamed with lots of my, friends. I've had friends where I went and ran a game bass place, and it was my one friend, it was his nephew, his brother-in-law, and, so it was his whole family, and I was running the game. So, you can pull players from all kinds of places.